Welcome to the Know, I'm Ashley Jenkins. It looks like a new entry in the Tomb Raider reboot series has leaked, courtesy of a blurry photo snapped on the subway. A Reddit user snapped a quick picture of what appears to be a laptop presentation for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, continuing that silly new naming convention, revealing not only the name but a few other interesting details. Since this picture was snapped on a Montreal subway, it actually led to some speculation that Eidos Montreal, another Square Enix studio, might be contributing to Shadow of the Tomb Raider in addition to its main developer Crystal Dynamics. The validity of that speculation was then confirmed by Kotaku, who heard from a source that the name is indeed the title of the next Tomb Raider game, but also that Eidos Montreal will be taking the reins from Crystal Dynamics this time around. Eidos Montreal previously worked on Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, so pretty cool. This type of leak might sound a little bit crazy, but remember that Assassin's Creed 4 leaked almost exactly the same way, only the presentation was on a plane instead of a subway. So maybe stop working on your PowerPoints on public transportation, people, especially if you want them to stay secret. If you're wondering how the recent SAG-AFTRA voice actor strike is going to affect some of the industry's high-profile games, well, you're not alone, that's a big concern. In response to a constant stream of tweets regarding the strike, one of the affected studios, Insomniac Games, actually shed a little bit of light on which of their projects would be considered strike eligible, meaning any game that started development after 2015 in February. Based on a tweet from the company, the affected projects would be VR titles Edge of Nowhere, Feral Rights, and The Unspoken, as well as Song of the Deep, their underwater Metroidvania project published by GameStop. Fortunately, that means that the upcoming Spider-Man for PS4 is perfectly fine, so it must have started development well before the deadline, or it doesn't use any unionized voice actors. So we can thank the gaming gods that it still seems to be on track, and let's just hope they get that whole strike situation resolved sooner rather than later, just for all the other games. Analysts predicted last week, along with, well, just about every gamer alive, looks like Titanfall 2 sales already hurting, unfortunately. Some launch numbers have started to trickle out about the game that was doomed to release between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty, and the early reports are not looking all that good for Respawn and EA at all. According to UK retail tracker ChartTrack GfK, Titanfall 2's week 1 launch sales pale in comparison to Titanfall 1's, even though it's coming out on more platforms. In fact, even the Xbox One sales of Titanfall 1 during its first week blow away Titanfall 2's sales on both Xbox One and PS4 by more than twice as much. Now, to be fair, this is retail information, which doesn't include digital sales, plus Titanfall 1 came out on a Tuesday versus Titanfall 2's Friday release, meaning its week 1 had some more steam. However, week 1 sales also include pre-orders, so that means the Titanfall 2 just didn't have as much interest before its release. Hopefully, the good reviews and word of mouth can change that, because everyone who's playing it is really enjoying it. It's just a really tough launch window. The director of cult classic survival horror game Deadly Premonition, Hidetaka Suehiro, has announced that after a 1-year hiatus, he will be leaving his post at Access Games and stepping away from game development after all. Suehiro, better known as Swery65 to those who loved his kind of weird, ridiculous game, made the announcement on Twitter this week. It came 1 year after he wrote that he'd be taking a short break from making games for his health. He's been struggling recently with reactive hypoglycemia. Suehiro now says that while his health has improved, it's still not enough for him to return to active game development just yet. Fortunately for his fans, Swery says he will return to gaming someday. That's certainly welcome news for fans of Deadly Premonition, his game that somehow became a cult sensation after its 2010 release. It was set to 90% off during the Halloween Steam sale, so hopefully you grabbed it before the Steam sale ended. Get well soon, Swery. What's worse than getting hit up for a $5,000 fine for pirating a video game? Probably if you didn't actually pirate the game at all. Oh, and also you're a grandma. That's exactly what's going down in Canada right now, where an 86-year-old woman has been singled out for illegally downloading Metro 2033, of all things. She's faced with paying a fine of up to $5,000 for this non-existent act, and honestly probably has no idea what she's even on the hook for. Apparently, all the authorities know is that someone downloaded the game from her IP address, meaning someone else in her apartment complex could have just done so through her unsecured network, because that happens a lot. According to CBC, the notice was actually sent to her by a third-party company hired by entertainment companies to serve copyright infringement notices. So there is a chance that this is either THQ or Deep Silver's fault. They've got to make up for that mighty number 9 money somehow, right? Take it out of the 86-year-old ladies, because that makes sense. If all your friends on Facebook have suddenly been checking into the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in North Dakota, they're not alone. Over 1 million people around the globe checked in this week in an effort to support protesters at the Dakota Access Pipeline, the controversial pipeline project that will disrupt sacred Native American grounds in North and South Dakota. The check-ins were a result of a viral Facebook post which claimed that authorities were using Facebook check-ins as a means to hunt down and arrest protesters. For its part, the Morton County Sheriff's Department has denied this claim, but either way, the show of good support has been overwhelming and once again speaks to the power of social media. We'll just have to see if those check-ins raise more than just awareness as events continue through the rest of the week. Now, moving on to movie news, it seems like movie directors just cannot get out of the DC Cinematic Universe fast enough because now The Flash has lost its director. Again. Director Rick Famuyiwa has reportedly left the picture after creative differences with the brain trusts at Warner Brothers and DC. That's not only the second director for The Flash, it also lost director Seth Grahame-Smith earlier this year, which is a real tragedy because he's a treasure, but also the second DC movie to have similar problems because Wonder Woman's directors have left over similar creative differences with the studio. Certainly doesn't bode well that every project on this not helmed by Zack Snyder has run into difficulty, and no one likes the ones that Zack Snyder has done. It remains to be seen if Famuyiwa's departure will majorly affect the production. The Flash is set to start filming early next year, and they're in the final stages of pre-production at the moment, so they'd better go fast then. Yeah, we went there. And that makes for a perfect segue into our next story about another comic book movie that recently lost its director over creative differences. Last week, the internet was shocked I tell you, to learn that Deadpool 2 might be running into a few speed bumps of its own thanks to the departure of Tim Miller, who had quite a bit of influence over the first movie and even contributed a great deal of the special effects work via his own studio. Miller might be down but not out though because he's already landed his next gig on the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Yeah, it's really. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Miller will now be acting as executive producer for the Sonic the Hedgehog film, which is totally not a downgrade in any way from working on one of the most profitable breakout hits of 2016. How Miller plans to move from the highest grossing rated R film of all time to a family-friendly Sonic movie is anyone's guess, although Miller did produce an animated short film that was nominated for an Oscar back in 2005, so anything can happen, really. It's not like he can do any worse with Sonic than the games are. And that about does it for today's roundup. Let us know what you think of any of these stories down in the comments. And for more news from every corner of the internet, like this video and subscribe to The Know. Yeah, that's right.
Pockets.
Pockets. Pockets.